Hello, Malik Currington here, Family Budget Fisherman. Thank you for tuning in to this episode. As you read in the thumbnail and in the description below the thumbnail, I am giving a 6-month review of my now use. First was just the purchase, but now use of the Phenix M1 2020 spinning rod. Right here, this was brand new. This is a brand new update to the Phenix M1 series. It came out last year in 2020. This is the 2020 update. And when I bought it before, 6 months ago, I gave you sort of my first impressions. Now I am ready to give you a review after having it in my rod locker for 6 months. So with that, let's get started. Square bill time. This is a one and a half inch square bill. I'm throwing this because this is right after spawn, and my hope is that I get bid on it. I may have to go to a much bigger square bill, and I'm okay with that. Matter of fact, I'm going to throw a much bigger square bill here in a little bit. But I'm looking for numbers of fish right now more than just size of fish. So we'll see. Oh good, I'm hitting the rocks. So I'm on the edge there. Let's see. Hey warrior. Let's go and play. Let's see if I can get it right under that tree there. Yeah, nope. Can't get you under that tree like that. There we go. Ah, let that go too early. If it's a bass, he'll come and try to strike it anyway. Oh, got him. That little dink. Got to get the skunk off. So Dink helps me get the skunk off. He hit that pretty doggone hard. Oh, come on. I don't want you to tap your mouth, and I don't want to be stuck. And it's going to be worse for you if I get stuck. Oh. All right, I'm hoping that I get over here in some shade. It's 100 degrees out officially here in Redding. And so, not me, but the GoPro keeps overheating. So, I found a place with some shade. Can you see those bluegills right there? It's a lot of them right there. Bluegills, bass, all kind of them. There's a frog behind me. There's a bullfrog that jumped out in front of me before I turned on the GoPro. And we're gonna see how well we do here. A lot of fish out here. I'm throwing that square bill still. When I caught the dink on, that's the reason why you didn't get a chance to see everything, because the dang thing overheated on me right at the perfect time. So hopefully in this shade I can get some love. Let's see. There we go. There we go. See that? Okay, you digging in. Come on. Stop digging in. Oh, it's a lot of fry. I didn't see all these bass fry. They start running like crazy once. I got this fish in. I don't know if this fish was trying to swipe it or what he was trying to do. Yeah, it's a nice one. And again, that's on that Phenix. Okay. It was a keeper. He was a keeper. All right, that's number 2. I don't know why those guys took into another one. This is my second one. Camera cut off right after the last one. Okay. Here we go. Second one. This is a little bit bigger than the last one. A little bit bigger. All right. A little bit bigger than the last one. And this one's also about 12. There you go. Nice little one there. And we're gonna let it go. There we go. Second fish gone. Actually, that's the third fish that I caught on this. I almost caught a. I hope that you enjoyed some of those clips of me taking this beautiful rod fishing. I'm going to get a little bit better as time permits. This is still kind of a young channel, and doing on the water vlogs is something that's new to this channel and to me individually. So if you just bear with me, the production of that is going to get better and better and better. But I do want to give you sort of a taste of how I fish this rod, where I fish this rod, and how successful I've been with this particular rod. And in terms of success, I have to say that I have caught over 150 fish with this rod, okay? Now, when I first started using this rod, it was paired with the Shimano Vanford 3000 XG. And over time, over the last 2 months, if you've been keeping up with the channel, you know that I've had some upgrades in terms of my rods in my arsenal. And the Poison Adrena has joined the rod arsenal for 2021. So I took that Vanford off of this rod and put it on that rod. And I put a very capable Revo X30 by Abu Garcia on this rod. Now, having said that, the performance of this rod is, I have to just say, amazing overall. This rod has one of the widest ranges of lure usage, in terms of weight, of all the rods in my rod locker. The fact that it goes from 1/8 to 3/4 ounce means that I can use a much more wider variety of baits with this rod than I could with any other rod that I have here. Most spinning rods, and I don't understand why this is the case, most spinning rods in the medium to medium heavy category overlap at about 80%. And on the higher end, it's usually 5/8. And then on the lower end, it's usually 1/4 or 3/16. And for whatever reason, unless you get into the inshore, where they then go into the 1.5 ounce and 2.5 ounces on the high end, or you're in the lights where they go all the way down to a 1/32 in some cases. For whatever reason, the mediums and medium lights don't have as wide of a range as this particular medium has. So that's one of the reasons why I'm particularly interested in this rod here. Now, my length that I have is a 7'8", and the review that I gave back in November is actually a 7'4". What happened was, after I had done that presentation, I then happened to come across the 7'8" at another shopping experience in Sportsman's Warehouse. And I decided to swap out the 7'4" in favor of return the 7'4" and purchase the 7'8". And what that did was gave me those necessary 4 inches to be able to cast smaller baits even further. I throw crappie baits on here as well as what the recommended rating. I don't go above 3/4 of an ounce, but I do quite frequently go below 1/8 of an ounce, and rather successfully. So some of the tech specs. Now, let me just say this up front. No company goes into real depth as to what their construction is on their rods. They just don't. So if you're looking at Spiral X technology, honeycomb technology, and any of the technologies that wrap the blanks of these rods, they just don't tell you. It's not explicit anywhere. Shimano and Daiwa will even take it further. They won't even tell you the tonnage of their rod blanks. And we know if it's graphite, it is a number of high modulus graphite. There's a number: 36 ton, 40 ton, 46 ton, 52 ton, or going down 30 ton or 24 ton. The range is usually, the safe range is usually between 24 and 46. But you don't want to go too far above 46, and you certainly don't want to go below 24. But at any rate, Shimano and Daiwa don't tell you about it. Thankfully, Phenix does. This is a 36 ton Toray graphite rod, and it has what is called vortex construction. I don't know what vortex construction is, but what I can tell you as a fisherman who handles this rod is that it is still a very light rod. It does not, it's not heavy. It balances well. Let's see if I can get a good balance out of it. It balances well, as you can see there. It balances well. And I can also mention that it is I maintain just as much control over a 1/16 ounce bait as I do a 3/4 ounce bait, even though the lure rating is 1/8 to 3/4. And it is just as sensitive. I can feel the fish biting the bait. Now, I have to say, in terms of the reel, there is the only noticeable difference is in the drag system. And that's not to say the Shimano Vanford is not a better reel than the Revo X. This is a great reel, but that Shimano is just top shelf. But there's no drastic compromise in terms of the performance by going from that reel to this one, because the rod is built so well. So I wanted to make mention of that. It has another kind of technology, again, called nanotubes technology, that's added to this version of the iteration of this series. But once again, I have no idea what that means, other than to say that the technology is fantastic. I also like the small tangle-free guides that they have on here. They're really, really good. I have not had any problems with tangling on any level, and I've thrown fluorocarbon on this rod. Certainly, I've thrown braid, and I've thrown mono. Even though I don't tell you all, there are a lot of times when I swap it out and I'll put on some Stren Magnathin 8-pound test, or I'll even use Field & Stream's version from Dick's Sporting Goods. They're 8-pound tests as well. And I have a great time on the water with this rod. Now, there are some challenges that this rod has. For example, these guides, they're great, when you don't have debris in the water. But when the debris gets in that water, if you can see how small those guides are, how tiny those guides are, those guides will collect. Out here, lately we've had cotton. Some would say pollen, I say cotton. 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 This stuff right here lands on our waterways, and we have to fish through this during this time of the year. And this right here tries to make it through our line guides, and routinely I'll get it stuck. If not the first guide, by the time I get it to the third guide, it's all gunked up. Third or fourth guide, I can't remember. I took a picture of it, but third or fourth guide, it gets all gunked up, and I have to stop and take care of it. It is not a deterrent from this rod. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you how much of a deterrent it is not. So much so that even with that, I bought a second rod. So I now own two rods. And these are, like I said, are fantastic rods. I want to add to that. I am impressed with the reel seat. I like the fact that the reel seat opens up at the bottom rather than at the top. So it unscrews here at the bottom rather than at the top. I like that as a difference from some of the other ways the other reel seats seat the reel. Now, is it necessarily a negative that others do it a different way? No, it's just from a handle holding situation. I like that for this particular rod. I will say that rods that don't have a hook keeper here and it's anywhere else down here. Now, if you have a second one, I'm not talking about that. But if you only have one and you have it anywhere down here, I think is a negative versus having it up here. And I've gotten some higher end rods where the hook keeper is down below the reel as opposed to above the reel. And it is a deterrent from leaving lures and baits on the rod itself. So I say all that to mention how universal this rod is. This rod fits into the same price point category as your Daiwa Tatula cork handle, your Shimano Curado, your Victory, the new St. Croix Victory rod that's out, and there are several others out there that it could compare to. Oh, even in the 13 series, the Omen. The Omen's on the lower end of it, being a $130 rod. However, it's in that price point. And I generally will say a rod that is between $125 and $185 is where this rod sits. There is a difference once you get over $180 or $185. And I'm saying 85 as opposed to 75 because I have noticed that a $175 rod and a $150 rod tend to be the same, especially when we're talking about how the blank is, how it constructs, how it responds, etc. So for this particular rod, I would say this: every person who is serious about fishing and you have moved from beginner to novice, and from novice all the way up to expert or master level, whatever that is, however you choose to say that, this rod should be in your rod locker. Again, this rod not only helps you to find a pattern, but it helps you to stay on a pattern because of how wide ranging it is. One of the reasons why I've caught so many fish on this rod is simply because of how wide ranging it is. And once I find a pattern, I can maintain a pattern. I have a rod review that's coming up. And I'm not going to tell you which one it is right now, but I will say this. It is the best at what it does primarily, But there are some secondary applications where it kind of falls off a little bit. I have not seen that with any application that I have involved this rod. And I'll say this rod with the Vanford and this rod with the Revo X. I just have not seen it. There might be others who have a different take on it. I'm not there. So my recommendation is, if you need and or want a rod and you have grown from a beginner to a novice or more experienced, so from a novice to an expert, I recommend that this rod be in your rod locker, even if you have to pay full retail price. This rod will remove many other rods that you will need to buy when you're talking about specific applications. And if you get one in your hand, you'll know exactly what to which I'm referring. It doesn't matter whether you have a 7-foot rod, a sub 7-foot rod, or in my case, a 7'8" rod. They all tend to perform similarly. Now, of course, there is a difference between a sub 7-foot rod and the 7'8" rod. But generally speaking, because of the way these rods are constructed, you get a similar response, you get a similar production out of this rod. I recommend it. And so I hope that this kind of helps for those of you who may be considering this rod to purchase this rod over others in its category if you are a novice to an expert. So with that, and also, and I want to say this lastly, is that having this rod will actually save you money because, as I've just explained, you will not have to buy as many other rods. When I take this rod out, I usually don't have more than maybe 4 or 5 other rods with me when I'm fishing. When I'm not taking this rod, I'm at 9 or 10 rods. And the reason why is just because this rod covers a wider gap that has to be filled by a number of my other rods when I take them with me. So I recommend this as a family budget fisherman's recommendation. Again, I say, don't ever let anybody try to convince you to break your family's budget trying to buy this rod. However, within your family's budget, within the law, and within good ethics, do everything you can to break your personal best. I see you in the next episode. Take care and be safe on the water.